Picture this. Dawn breaks over Rome, 150 AD. Golden light spills across the baths of Trajan, illuminating towering columns that pierce the morning mist like titans frozen in stone. Steam rises from heated pools, curling upward through shafts of sunlight, creating an ethereal dance between shadow and brilliance. The air thrums with the soft echo of water cascading from bronze fountains, each droplet catching light like scattered diamonds across intricate mosaics depicting gods and heroes in eternal splendor. You stand at the entrance to this temple of civilization, breathing in the warm, humid air that carries hints of exotic oils and perfumed waters. This is the Roman bathhouse, the pinnacle of human achievement, where engineering mastery meets artistic vision. Here, in these sacred halls of cleanliness, the empire's greatest minds gather to discuss philosophy while their bodies soak in heated luxury. Here, senators debate policy while slaves scrub their backs with sea sponges. Here, the very essence of Roman civilization flows like the carefully channeled waters that feed these magnificent pools. But you don't see what lurks beneath the surface, not yet. The Romans called it balnea, their word for these temples of purification. To them, these weren't merely places to wash. They were sanctuaries where the soul could be cleansed alongside the flesh. The wealthy arrived in silk-lined litters, their slaves carrying baskets of the finest oils from Egypt and Syria. The poor came on foot, clutching their single bronze coin, the price of admission to paradise. All classes mingled in these steaming chambers, their naked bodies stripped of the visible markers of status, united in their pursuit of the perfect Roman ideal. Mens sana in corpore sano, a sound mind in a sound body. The architecture itself tells the story of Roman ambition. Massive hypocaust systems snake beneath marble. E-floors, channeling heated air through hollow walls to maintain perfect temperatures. The caldarium, tepidarium, and frigidarium create a carefully orchestrated journey from scorching heat to refreshing cold, designed to purge impurities and invigorate the spirit. Every surface gleams with polished stone, every angle calculated to inspire awe. The dome overhead seems to touch the heavens themselves, a testament to human ingenuity that would make the gods themselves weep with envy. You watch as a senator's wife glides into the women's section, her silk stola pooling at her feet like liquid moonlight. Her perfumed skin catches the warm light as she descends into waters that promise youth eternal. Nearby, a young gladiator, scarred but magnificent, lowers his powerful frame into the same pool where politicians and poets seek their daily renewal. The water welcomes them all equally, embracing rich and poor, powerful and powerless, in its warm, inclusive depths. This is Rome at her most seductive. This is civilization itself made manifest in marble and bronze, in heated stone and flowing water. The bathhouse represents everything the empire aspires to be: sophisticated, egalitarian, technologically advanced, culturally refined. Here, Romans don't merely wash. They participate in a ritual of transformation, emerging not just clean, but renewed, reborn, perfected. The psychological appeal runs deeper than mere vanity. In a world where life expectancy hovers around 35 years, where disease stalks every household and death arrives without warning, the bathhouse offers something precious beyond measure: the illusion of control. Control over one's body, one's health, one's destiny. The ritual cleansing becomes a prayer to the gods, a bargain struck with fate itself. If I purify my flesh, perhaps my spirit will follow. If I perfect my form, perhaps I can perfect my life. But illusions, no matter how beautiful, remain just that, illusions. The very water that promises purification carries secrets the naked eye cannot see. The shared sponges that scrub away yesterday's sins also transport tomorrow's suffering. The communal pools that unite all Romans in equality also democratize disease with ruthless efficiency. The warm, inviting temperatures that soothe tired muscles also create perfect breeding grounds for invisible predators that feast on human flesh. You breathe deeply, savoring the humid air, perfumed with rose oil and frankincense, unaware that each breath carries microscopic invaders into your lungs. You feel the smooth marble beneath your feet, polished by countless bodies, not knowing that the very smoothness comes from layers of human waste and decay ground into the stone by endless traffic. You admire the crystal-clear water, its surface disturbed only by gentle ripples, never suspecting the bacterial colonies that thrive in its heated depths like underwater cities of death. The Romans built their bathhouses as monuments to human triumph over nature, over dirt, over the primitive conditions that plagued their barbarian neighbors. They created spaces where citizens could transcend their mortal limitations and touch something divine. The irony cuts like a gladius through bone. In their very attempt to achieve perfection, they created systems of contamination so sophisticated that even their enemies couldn't have devised more effective weapons against them. The morning light grows stronger now, burning away the mystical mist to reveal the bathhouse in stark detail. Every flaw in the marble becomes visible, every stain on the bronze grows pronounced, but the Romans arriving for their daily ablutions see only what they choose to see: beauty, luxury, civilization triumphant. They cannot perceive the invisible horror that swims in their paradise, feeds on their dreams, and turns their greatest achievements into their most dangerous delusion. The water beckons, warm and welcoming, promising everything the human heart desires: cleanliness, health, social connection, spiritual renewal. Hundreds will answer its call today, as they have for generations, as they will for generations to come, each one seeking transformation, each one finding something else entirely. What happens when humanity's greatest ambition becomes its most perfect trap? You must understand, it didn't begin with grandeur. The story of Roman bathing starts not with marble palaces, but with a single steaming pool discovered by Greek colonists centuries before Caesar drew his first breath. Picture it, a natural hot spring bubbling up from volcanic depths, its mineral-rich waters kissed by sulfur and heated by the earth's own fire. The Greeks, those philosophers of pleasure, saw divinity in this gift from Hades himself. They built simple structures around these sacred waters, rough stone enclosures that barely deserved the name bath. Yet even in their primitive form, these early facilities whispered promises that would echo through millennia: enter these waters and emerge transformed. But Romans were never content with simple anything. When Roman engineers first encountered Greek bathing culture in the conquered territories of Magna Graecia, they experienced something akin to religious conversion. You can almost see the moment: a dust-covered centurion, fresh from months of campaign, lowering his battle-scarred body into heated waters for the first time. The sensation must have felt like resurrection. Every ache dissolved, every worry melted away in liquid warmth. In that moment, Rome's destiny shifted from mere conquest to something far more intoxicating: the pursuit of perfect comfort. The transformation began slowly, almost innocently. Early Roman baths were modest affairs, single rooms with basic heating systems called hypocausts, where slaves fed fires that warmed the floors above. The wealthy built private bathhouses in their villas, personal sanctuaries where they could escape the chaos of public life. But privacy, Romans discovered, was a lonely paradise. The true pleasure lay not just in the warmth of the water, but in the community it created. You see, bathing became Rome's great social experiment. Where else could a senator's son share space with a merchant's daughter? Where else could slaves witness the naked vulnerability of their masters? The bathhouse demolished social barriers with the same efficiency that Roman legions demolished city walls. In the steaming democracy of shared nakedness, Rome glimpsed its own revolutionary potential. The cultural mythology grew with each generation. Water, to the Roman mind, possessed mystical properties beyond mere cleanliness. They believed, truly believed, that certain waters could cure madness, restore youth, even grant immortality. Pliny the Elder documented dozens of miraculous springs throughout the empire, each with its own healing specialization. The waters of Baiae could mend broken hearts. The springs of Baden-Baden could restore virility. The thermal pools of Bath could cleanse the soul of sin itself. But belief, when wedded to Roman ambition, becomes something far more dangerous than simple faith. Emperor Agrippa changed everything in 25 BC when he opened Rome's first truly public bathhouse. Free admission for all citizens, a radical concept that sent shockwaves through the established order. Suddenly, bathing wasn't just a luxury for the elite, it became a right of citizenship, a promise the empire made to every Roman: belong to us, and we will transform you daily. The psychological implications were staggering. Romans began to define themselves not just by what they conquered, but by how thoroughly they could purify themselves afterward. Cleanliness became a form of patriotism. Daily bathing became a ritual of Roman identity. To skip one's bath was reject civilization itself, a form of voluntary barbarism that decent Romans couldn't comprehend. Watch how the obsession spreads through Roman society like water through cracked stone. Wealthy families compete to build more elaborate private baths, each trying to outdo their neighbors in luxury and innovation. Architects become celebrities, their designs for heating systems and water circulation studied like military tactics. The Emperor Nero spends fortunes developing new perfumes and oils, transforming bathing from mere hygiene into high art. Children grow up believing that daily immersion in heated water is as natural as breathing. They cannot imagine life without the ritual progression from apoditerium to caldarium to frigidarium, the sacred journey from profane flesh to purified spirit. Roman identity becomes inseparable from Roman bathing culture. To be Roman is to bathe Roman. To bathe Roman is to touch divinity. The engineering grows more sophisticated with each passing decade. Aqueducts stretch across continents to feed the empire's thirst for clean water. Underground furnaces burn day and night, consuming forests to maintain perfect temperatures. Slaves work in hellish conditions beneath the floors, stoking fires that create paradise above. The economic impact is enormous. Entire industries emerge to support the bathing obsession. Sponge divers risk their lives harvesting sea creatures from Mediterranean depths. Oil merchants traverse deserts seeking the perfect aromatics. Stonemasons, perfect techniques for creating surfaces that feel divine against naked skin. But you begin to sense something unsettling in this pursuit of perfection. The Romans' relationship with bathing contains elements of compulsion that go beyond mere preference. They speak of their daily baths with the fervor of religious converts. They describe the sensation of heated water against sea, kin with almost erotic intensity. They plan their entire days around bathing schedules, adjusting business meetings and social obligations to accommodate their ritual purification. The psychological dependency becomes visible in their art and literature. Roman poets write odes to bathwater. Roman painters create frescoes celebrating the nude human form in various stages of cleansing. Roman philosophers develop entire schools of thought around the spiritual significance of physical purification. The bath becomes not just a place Romans visit, but a lens through which they view existence itself. And still, they cannot see what lurks beneath the surface of their obsession. The same engineering genius that creates these temples of purification also creates systems of contamination so subtle that generations will pass before anyone recognizes the true cost. The same social innovations that break down class barriers also break down biological barriers, creating unprecedented opportunities for disease transmission. The same cultural values that celebrate cleanliness also create blind spots so complete that Romans literally cannot perceive the filth that surrounds them. The irony builds like pressure in a hypocaust system. The more perfectly Romans engineer their bathing experience, the more perfectly they engineer their own destruction. What happens when a civilization's greatest strength becomes its fatal weakness? Sometimes the most beautiful surfaces hide the deepest rot. You descend the marble steps into the baths of Caracalla on what should be a perfect afternoon in 217 AD. The autumn sun streams through clerestory windows, casting geometric patterns across the mosaic floor where Neptune commands his dolphins through eternal seas. Everything appears exactly as it should, magnificent, pristine, worthy of the gods themselves. But today, something feels different. Today, you notice things that your mind has been trained to overlook. It starts with a smell. Not the usual perfume of rose oil and frankincense that typically greets visitors, but something else. Something organic and unsettling that seems to rise from the very stones beneath your feet. You pause at the entrance to the tepidarium, trying to identify this alien scent that doesn't belong in paradise. It's subtle, almost masked by the aromatic oils floating on the water's surface, but persistent enough to make you wrinkle your nose involuntarily. The first pool you approach seems normal from a distance, steam rising in elegant spirals, the surface disturbed only by gentle ripples as bathers move through the water. But as you draw closer, your eyes begin to register details that your brain initially refuses to process. The water, which should be crystal clear, carries a faint cloudiness that makes it impossible to see the pool's bottom. What you assumed was artistic depth reveals itself as something far less appealing, a murky opacity that suggests things better left unseen. You watch a portly senator wade deeper into the pool, his soft flesh disappearing into water that seems almost thick with invisible presence. When he emerges to sit on the pool's edge, his skin glistens not just with water, but with a thin film that catches the light strangely, like oil mixed with something else entirely. He doesn't seem to notice, too lost in conversation with his companion about grain prices and Germanic barbarians. Your attention shifts to the communal sponges hanging from bronze hooks along the pool's perimeter, those shared implements that every Roman uses without question. From a distance, they appear perfectly normal, even luxurious in their Mediterranean abundance. But closer inspection reveals something that makes your stomach lurch slightly. The sponges, which should be clean and pale, carry a yellowish tinge that speaks of inadequate cleaning. Worse, you notice dark specks embedded in their porous surfaces, matter that could be anything from old soap to something far more disturbing. You watch in horrified fascination as a well-dressed matron selects one of these sponges and begins scrubbing her arms with obvious pleasure. She passes it to her teenage daughter, who accepts it without hesitation, running it across her neck and shoulders with the casual confidence of someone who has never questioned this daily ritual. The sponge moves from body to body, mother to daughter, to the slave girl attending them, each transfer carrying invisible cargo from skin to skin. The psychological impact hits you like a gladiator's blow to the solar plexus. This isn't just carelessness. This is systematic contamination disguised as civilization's highest achievement. Every shared surface, every communal implement represents a pathway for whatever microscopic horrors breed in these warm, stagnant waters. Your gaze shifts to the lavatrina, the communal toilets that serve the bathhouse. What you see there destroys whatever innocence you had left about Roman hygiene. The marble seats, worn smooth by countless bodies, glisten with moisture that isn't entirely water. The communal sponges on sticks used for cleaning after defecation sit in containers of what should be clean salt water, but appears suspiciously murky. The drainage system, designed to flush waste away with running water, seems overwhelmed by the sheer volume of human waste it's expected to process. But the true horror reveals itself when you notice the rats. Not one or two scavengers, but a small army of sleek, well-fed rodents that move through the bathhouse infrastructure with the confidence of long-time residents. They emerge from cracks in the marble, scurry along the edges of pools, and disappear into the hypocaust systems that heat the building. These aren't occasional invaders, they're permanent inhabitants of paradise, thriving in the warm, moist environment that Romans have created for their own pleasure. You follow their paths with your eyes and begin to understand the true scope of the contamination. The same heating channels that warm the floors also provide highways for vermin to travel throughout the complex. The same water systems that deliver heated luxury also carry whatever diseases these creatures spread. The same architectural innovations that create comfort also create perfect breeding conditions for everything Romans think they're washing away. The water itself tells the most damning story. What Romans celebrate as constantly refreshed and heated to perfection reveals itself as a slow-moving soup of human secretions, cosmetic oils, dead skin cells, and bodily fluids of every imaginable variety. The heating system that should purify instead creates ideal temperatures for bacterial growth. The circulation system that should cleanse instead spreads contamination with mechanical efficiency. You notice a young man near the pool's edge scratching absently at red welts on his arms, marks that could be insect bites or something worse. A woman in the corner coughs repeatedly, her lungs working to expel something that the humid air has delivered deep into her respiratory system. An elderly patron complains to his slave about stomach pains that have persisted since his last visit, never connecting his suffering to his daily purification ritual. The psychological denial becomes as visible as the physical contamination. Romans have invested so completely in their bathing culture that they literally cannot see what surrounds them. Their minds edit out the evidence of filth with the same efficiency that their eyes focus on marble beauty. They've trained themselves to perceive only what supports their cultural mythology, filtering reality through layers of belief so thick that obvious truths become invisible. You realize with growing horror that this isn't just one bathhouse on one unfortunate day. This is the system working exactly as designed, a system that prioritizes appearance over reality, comfort over safety, cultural identity over basic hygiene. Every bathhouse in the empire operates under the same principles, faces the same challenges, carries the same hidden costs. The beautiful lie reveals its true nature. Romans haven't conquered dirt and disease. They've simply created more sophisticated ways to spread both while maintaining the illusion of cleanliness. They've built temples to purification that function as factories of contamination, and their cultural blind spots prevent them from recognizing the difference. The steam continues to rise from heated pools, carrying with it not just moisture but microscopic passengers that will find new homes in Roman lungs, Roman bloodstreams, Roman lives. The marble gleams as beautifully as ever, polished by human passage into surfaces that harbor invisible predators. The engineering marvels continue to function perfectly, delivering contamination with the same precision they deliver comfort. How long can paradise survive when it's built on rotting foundations? Every culture has its initiation rites, some just hide them better. You stand at the threshold of transformation, though you don't yet understand what that means. The attendant slave gestures toward the apoditerium, where Romans shed more than just their clothes. They abandoned their last defenses against a system designed to remake them in its own contaminated image. This is where the true initiation begins, not with ceremony or celebration, but with the simple act of becoming vulnerable. Watch how the process unfolds with methodical precision. First comes the physical stripping, togas, tunics, sandals discarded without thought onto marble benches worn smooth by countless piau. Evious surrenders. Your naked skin meets the humid air, pores opening instinctively to accommodate the moisture-heavy atmosphere. Already your body begins to adapt, preparing itself for immersion in waters that promise purification but deliver something else entirely. The psychological transformation starts immediately. Nakedness in Roman culture carries profound meaning beyond mere exposure. It represents equality, honesty, the stripping away of social pretense. Rich and poor, free and slave, all enter these waters as nature made them, vulnerable and exposed. But this democratic nudity creates something the Romans never intended: universal susceptibility to whatever thrives in their carefully heated paradise. You move through the progression like countless others before you, each step designed to break down resistance to what comes next. The frigidarium shocks your system with cold water, causing your skin to contract, your blood vessels to constrict, your body to become hypersensitive to temperature change. Then the tepidarium begins the gradual warming process, coaxing your defenses to lower as comfort seeps into muscle and bone. Finally, the caldarium completes your surrender. Hot water so perfectly heated that your body opens completely, every pore dilated, every biological barrier softened. This is the moment of true initiation, when your body stops being your own and becomes part of the collective Roman experience. The overcrowding makes resistance impossible. Bodies press against bodies in pools designed for half their actual occupancy. The water displacement created by hundreds of daily bathers means that whatever contaminants exist multiply and concentrate with mathematical precision. You cannot choose solitude in these spaces. Isolation isn't just impractical, it's actively discouraged by Roman social expectations.